Okay, gang, we are back for, I think, what should be the final installment of our painting demo here. It's not the final stage of the painting per se, but let me adjust the camera here, but I think this will probably be the last phase. So this will be phase number 4. And as you can see, I've put in some shadows, and I have a little work to do on the texture on the grass and creating the depth here. I want to finalize some of the moves I'm going to make on the tree and maybe add a little bit of warmth to the sky for just the illusion of light crossing over. And I might even mix a little yellow with white to do that, to give that indication. I also have this interesting edge here that I want to soften up. I'm not going to soften this edge, but of the shadow, I'm going to use an upward brush stroke to soften that line and make it look like there are blades of grass kind of passing up in front of that. It's just a detail that's really going to add quite a bit. I'm also going to add just a hint of warmth, I think, to this portion of this tree, but not nearly as much as I have here. I'm also planning to add some green to the final stages of maybe 2 different types of green on my tree trunk here. And I like the idea of this warmth staying the same. I'll probably add just a little bit of yellow to that, is what I'm thinking. So what I want to do is drop some water on the paints here, probably with my bamboo brush. It's going to basically just revitalize the colors that have dried in the palette. That's the problem with doing a painting like this. Your colors on your palette will dry too. But just a touch of water and a little stirring and they're back in action for you. Okay. I'm going to grab a couple of paper towels that I can dry my brush with and do some correcting with if I need to. Now I'm going to start here with, well, what I just want to do, I guess, and that is something that's very easy to do with the finest brush that I have. And I'm going to come up here and I do a little work with just, I think, a little bit of water on the brush is all. Okay? And I'm going to come here and I'm not going to scrub very hard, but I am going to move up and down on that line. There we go. And what I'm doing is just softening that line and pulling down actually on the color. And that moves that dry line and softens it quite a bit. And you can see it adds just a touch of more depth to that as I pull downward. And again, the illusion I'm going for is blades of grass that might be coming up in front of that shadow that are in the highlight stage, like so. I'm going to do the same thing with the shadow here coming up of the trunk. And I'm just pulling down a little bit. Okay. Simple enough. Now I'm going to take some of the green, yellow. I'm going to get some green here. And I really don't like the green that's on this palette, so I usually feel the need to put it elsewhere and augment it a little bit with another color, or change it, or make multiple versions of it, a bluer version or a yellow version. So I'm just going to drop some water in my other palette here and have that green available. And now I'm going to clean my brush. I'm going to take the color yellow and add it to it. So I'm going to do a brighter green this time. So add a little yellow to that. Okay, so here we go with this lighter green. I'm just going to touch on top of the shadows that I have there on the tree. And again, I'm using a smaller brush because I still want most of these marks and brush strokes to show through. Actually, I'm going to change brushes, I think, to my 1/4 inch. It's going to carry just a little more paint. And I'm going to mix it with that yellow that's there. paint isn't quite as thick as I want it to be. So what I'm doing is glazing these marks over top of the blue. And what it ends up looking like is a dark green when you do this. Putting green on top of the blue that's there. And that blue already has black in it. And I'm trying to limit the number of times I touch the surface with the brush in order to preserve the layers that are underneath. Because if, like you've seen before, you can take a brush that's wet and scrub a dry layer, and a lot of that color on this paint will come off. So what we're starting to see is this tree is really starting to look like leafing instead of an abstract form. It's starting to look, and see that yellow turns out a different green than the blue. It's kind of nice. If I put brush strokes like leaves on the yellow, it's a very different green, very different looking green than the blue has given me. So the underpainting has a pretty profound impact on the final version. You know? And the type of brush stroke you use is going to make it look, you know, if I were brush stroking side by side, it would be, or side to side or up and down, or the way you might color with a pencil, then the effect would be quite different. A little more green. Almost finished with this portion. Okay. I don't think there's any more work right now that I can do on these leaves. I think what I would be tempted to do later on is to come back and try to thicken up the paint quite a bit and layer some bright marks on top of some of this to add to its depth. I'm going to put some of this green on the tree that's in the midground as well. And do the same type of brush stroke, but a little bit closer together. So what this tree has in yellow and gold and orange, this tree lacks, but it still has some of the hints of yellow in the green that's on it, and that's going to definitely push this tree that I'm now working on back into the background or in the midground. So what I'm going to do is not use the orange-like, whoops, brush isn't totally clean. There we go. I'm going to grab a little yellow and just put a couple touches of yellow on the highlight side. And it's not going to look yellow, it's going to appear to be a brighter green, or a yellow green, which is good for the shadow, or the highlight side. And I'm actually going to go in here, I think, and touch that tree trunk with just a hint of yellow. There we go. Just make it pop a little bit. Now I'm going to work this red into, let's see, I'm running out of places to put it. I'll put it right there. I'm going to use red to make an orange-like color for some ground. I'm going to grab some yellow and mix it in with that. Clean my brush. Do it again. Grab a little yellow. There we go. Now I'm going to use this to come in. Actually, I'm not going to use that brush though. I am going to use this brush to take this orange-like color into the ground. Like so. What this is going to do is help me build, and it's already, you can kind of tell it's already got a pretty profound effect. I'm going to go side to side in some places for essence of dirt in the ground coming through some of those places on the ground between the grass, between the blades of grass. And what I'm trying to create here is a little bit unity. I've got the same color up in the tree. If I bring it down here, it looks like dirt, but it also brings the ground and the tree together. And I can take it up as high as I like. And again, I don't want to go too high, but I could take it into the midground, just hints of it on top of that blue, because the blue changes it. It's a different color now because it's on top of blue, which is kind of cool. That's the beauty of using glazes. Okay. You can see, because of the dry layer of marks going up and down, they still exist, but going side to side adds a little interest, and it gives you a sense of the plane taking place there on the dirt that the grass is growing up out of. So that's kind of cool. You can go throw in a little red in this area, just a little bit, a hint of it. And that red, when it's on top of the green, is going to give it kind of a browning effect, which is what I'm after. And again, we're talking about just a hint of it, not very strong in the highlight places coming through back there. Okay. So last phase I'm thinking about, I might try, even though it's not completely dry, might be a couple of white mixtures with yellow here. I'm going to clean my yellow up later and my white. Very, very thick application of paint to the point where you can see it on the bristles. I'm going to drop a couple in here. See. Just a couple that will add to its depth. Now the paint I've got on my paper now is really thick, and these leaves now are kind of giving the impression that they're being hit by the light, but they're in front of the other leaves that are darker and in the background. Right there. It doesn't take very much, just a couple marks here and there to go into that dark space to give you an idea of depth, that there are some leaves in front, some behind. And I feel like in this area it's begging for just a few more. There we have it. It's a pretty good looking tree, pretty good looking ground, and I could do the same thing with this brush in a couple really bright blades of grass if I wish. And I think that'll work for this one. Give it a whirl and see what you think.